With version 1.6 coming very soon, and by very soon I mean today, and also with Penacony on the horizon, there is something I do want to talk about with everyone in the Honkai Star Rail community, and it's for every type of player when it comes to experience in the game, whether it be a brand new player, a recently made account, or veterans alike. I do want to talk about the topic of 5-star Lightcones, because I think these topics when it comes to the banners and what you should be looking for when it comes to these Lightcones, they are something of a negative connotation, and I do want to give these Lightcones a second chance, just because I feel like right now, once we've been in version 1.6, which is very soon, up until 1.0, there's just been a very negative connotation to this banner and a very negative connotation to getting Lightcones, and I kind of want to talk about it in a more non-biased standpoint when it comes to how these Lightcones actually work on the characters that they're with, and also if you really do need them on your account. Now, as someone like me who has every single signature Lightcone in the game, I can 100% say right now that the characters with the signature Lightcones versus not having it, a lot of them do differ in terms of what they actually can do. A lot of the DPSs really love their Lightcones because they get the max amount of performance with it, because these are very tailored to them, and I mean by like insane amount tailored to them. Like 100% of this effect is like only for this character and this character alone. And when it comes to sustain or support reasons, the Lightcones for them are a little bit, I guess you could say, iffy, just because I do think there's a lot of really great substitutions that you can run without having to get the 5-star Lightcones. So today I do want to go over some of these Lightcones when it comes to buy path basis and buy role basis, because I do think after a certain point you don't really need these Lightcones, or you're basically doing overkill by having them. I do want to start from the bottom at abundance all the way up to destruction, because I do think these bottom 4 are classified in the same role of you kind of don't need these. And I want to say this because there's just so many great 4-star options for harmony, for nihility, for preservation, for abundance, and especially with what sustainers do, what supports do, what debuffers do, I do think we have an ample amount of 4-star options that you can use that are better to use than to go for these 5-star premium Lightcones. I don't think any of these Lightcones when it comes to harmony, nihility, preservation, or abundance are absolutely needed. In all honesty, I do think they are all super overkill. Yes, they conform to the character they're supposed to be with, just like how Luocha's is attack scaling, it gives you energy, gives the ally speed, all really good stuff. But with how strong Luocha's heal already is, when it comes to his SP positive kit, when it comes to him being able to heal a fat ton through him doing standby healing, you don't really need a fat ton of this. You just need a really nice musketeer set or a really nice attack percent set, and you'll be 100% fine. You don't really need it. I use outgoing healing with the musketeer set, and that's how I run my Luocha, and he does absolutely insane amounts of healing that isn't even needed. Same thing goes for these other 5-star Lightcones in the abundance path. This one just gives outgoing healing and max HP, and you can literally get the same type of effect from this Lightcone here. I've heard some people say that they don't like this Lightcone for some reason. I don't see why, because I think this is a very great Lightcone for a lot of healers. You're getting that max HP buff, and you're also getting outgoing healing when you use your skill, which is basically what every single unit does when it comes to healing. Luocha, Bailu, Natasha, Lynx, all these characters can 100% benefit from this, and if your team is low, use the skill, then you pop your ultimate and you get a fat ton of extra healing because you ended up popping your skill first. There are certain barriers to get you to that outgoing healing, but they're not something that you wouldn't do out of the ordinary. There's just a lot of really great 4-star options when it comes to the abundance path that you really don't need to shell out for these really 5-star sustained Lightcones, because they're just overkill in what they do. There's no content in the game currently. Of course, we have to wait till we get into MOC 11 and MOC 12 where I might remake this video. But with that being said, if those contents aren't harder, if they don't hit amazingly harder than what we already have now, there's no reason to go for these sustained Lightcones, because you have really crazy ones like post-op conversation, give you energy recharge rate, also give you outgoing healing, which is really nice for characters that have that spam ultimate that you can heal full way from. And then you have some broken ones like perfect timing, giving you effect res, giving you outgoing healing based on the effect res, so it's not conditional on which one you use. These are some super great, and I mean amazing Lightcones to have for an abundance character. Same thing goes for preservation. These ones that are in the 5-star category at the current moment are a little bit overkill for what they're actually needed. A lot of the ones that are in the 4-star category are basically all the same and give you the stats that you actually want. Day 1 of my new life gives you a defense increase. Trend of the universal market gives you a defense increase. The This Is Me defense increase. The texture of memories that comes free to play through the Herta shop gives you effect res and a shield. There's a lot of really great options that you can use instead of getting something like maybe Fuxuan's Lightcone, because Fuxuan, I think in my honest opinion, is a very overloaded Lightcone that you don't really need all of this. You don't, 100% you don't. That gives you max HP, which is really nice, energy regeneration rate, which is good for Fu Shui and many other sustainers or preservation units alike. And then you also get all allies damage dealt, which is a really nice thing to have. And then you get a full wave heal when you are finished with that next wave or you're getting into your upcoming wave. There's a lot of really cool stuff that comes with this light cone, but with a really nice invested team when it comes to your DPS, your supports, and your sustain, you really don't need all of this. This is very overkill. This will maybe take one turn off of what you would have already done, or possibly even save you two, but it's not going to be to the point where you're only going to 30-star MOC if you have something like this light cone here. And then same thing with the preservation light cone for Japar, even though this is slightly free to play because you can't buy it if you summon enough. This is highly specified for Japar just because of the effect hit rate, and you are getting hit more and you are getting that defense buff. But it's still, I think in my honest opinion, a very, very overloaded light cone that you don't really need. Same thing with the Nihility and Harmony. I think these paths, along with Abundance and Preservation, just have a really great multitude of 4-star options that they can use instead of the 5-star light cones, because they have insane ones like Resolution Shines, giving you defense decrease, which is a really big staple on a lot of different characters. For Armada being really great for a lot of characters that are dealing with Sampo or Kafka, or basically dealing with Sampo and Kafka. And it gives you the break effect and the shocking wind shear and increase the dot. It's really freaking great that we have some of these 4-star options that are really nice. I know a lot of people don't have access to this one at the current moment, but for people that do, this one's just overall insane for characters like Silverwolf, characters like Pella. You get an insane amount of ultimate back from having this. And then I know Good Night Sleep Will is a really great one. I haven't used it that much myself, but with a lot of the units that have come out that are giving multiple dots, some like Silverwolf, Kafka can give 2 if you have a signature, or you know, just overall rocking a dot team, this is going to basically be a really freaking nice light cone to have. Eyes of the Prey is really great too for a lot of dot units too. So you can see that a lot of these 4-stars that are in here, besides the Battle Pass light cone, are really great for free-to-play players and really great as substitutions. And then you also have Solitary Healing, which is great on a lot of different characters as well. So you don't need to shell out on this. I actually think that Nihility has some of the worst light cones in my honest opinion. Incessant Rain is only good just because it gives you sub DPS Overwolf, it gives you sub DPS Welt, because there's no other Nihility light cone that gives crit damage, or crit rate, my bad. And that's basically it. Kafka's is very overkill for what it gives. It gives you speed, it gives you damage dealt, and an extra dot. You don't really need this. You'll 100% kill the enemy with another light cone, even if you have this signature. And then in the name of the world, I wish this was better, but this is kind of a butt light cone, not gonna lie. When it comes to, you can use something else like Incessant Rain. So in the name of the world, sadly, isn't a great light cone either. So Nihility, Preservation, Abundance, all amazing. And then Harmony, I would just want to say 100%. These are overkill. We don't have a lot of Harmony light cones because yes, RUAN May will be coming out with another one, but even that one I think is overkill. It's not really needed. It doesn't really work with a lot of different units. Memories of the Past, we already know is going to be RUAN May's best 4-star light cone if you don't have it. And then Planetary Rendezvous, same type supports. It's always going to be absolutely crazy to have this on top of a main DPS and a support carrying the same light cone or carrying the same weakness, and that's going to be some really good damage. Dance 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 has been a staple for Harmony light cones for a long time, just because of the amazing advanced forward you get after popping your ultimate. And if you have a fast enough unit, if you have a unit that's fine-tuned to get multiple ultimates very quickly, then Dance 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 is going to be absolutely amazing for sure. These are some really great light cones that you would have, and they work on basically everyone. They're very universal and can be used on any team and anyone when it comes to the Harmony path. So Harmony, Nihility, Preservation, Abundance, you don't really need the 5-star light cones. I think these are very bloated, very overloaded light cones, and a lot of the roles that they're doing you don't really need. A lot of these give really crazy damage stats for no reason when you can only shell out maybe 1 to 2 turns off of what you would regularly do, when you have a lot more turns that you can use to be able to get 30-star in MOC. Now when it comes to Erudition, Hunt, and Destruction, this is where it gets a little tricky, because I do think the DPSs get a bigger boost from their kit rather than the sustainers and the support characters in the game. For Erudition, I do want to say there's only maybe one light cone where I would say that summoning on this light cone is actually worth it, just because it will work on everyone in the future no matter what, and that is Jing Yuan's light cone. I think Jing Yuan's light cone is still by far one of the better light cones in the game for sure, just because it gives you universal stats across the board, gives you crit damage, gives you skill, gives you ultimate, gives you follow-up attacks. That is everything an Erudition unit can use in their kit, and they're all getting buffed from this light cone. This is a super universal one, so if you're ever thinking about getting an Erudition light cone, Genuines 100% would be the Lightcone you want to get. But other than that, Seriousness of Breakfast is always a great option for a substitute. You get a damage buff that's non-conditional, and for every enemy defeated, you get an attack buff that doesn't expire. As you may know, I hate conditional Lightcones because they do lose their effects after a certain amount of time, and if you're fighting more tankier enemies, you aren't going to be getting these effects off very quickly. So having something that doesn't expire like Seriousness of Breakfast is a really great thing to have. And then Make the World More can be nice. I think a lot of these other Lightcones that aren't breakfast are basically very specified towards follow-up attacks or ultimates, and you kind of want a full kit damaging Lightcone to have, and that's where Seriousness of Breakfast is just the shining star of Erudition. As I said before Dawn is basically the only Lightcone I would ever recommend anyone to get if they're looking into investing Erudition characters. And then when it comes to destruction in the hunt classes, I do want to say with these there are some slight substitutions that you can use, like swordplay, like river flows in spring. There are certain conditions to using these. Like we said, swordplay is one, and you have to fight the same enemy, which isn't too hard for a lot of the hunt characters because they are single target characters. And for characters like Topaz and Numby, for characters like Sele, these characters can 100% just nuke down whoever is with their buff, or whatever you say, the debuff that you would have from swordplay. So that is a really good thing that you can use with that. You also have river flows in spring. If you have something like Fire MC, or maybe even possibly a Japard, you're able to take use of this Lightcone as well for a substitution. I just think for a lot of the characters, especially the ones coming out for like Topaz and Numby, where they're doing follow-up attack damage, this is a really weird thing that we are mixing paths even more right now, because this leads to characters not having really great substitutions for them when it comes to their signature versus the next best. And that's where I really want to go into Blades really quickly. I do think Blades is by far one of the strongest Lightcones in value, just because this Lightcone versus their substitute is a very big thing. You are getting the crit rate from Blaze Lightcone, you're getting max HP, which Blaze scales off of, and then you're also getting an almost 100% damage buff as well. And this is the only character that doesn't have a Lightcone that he can use besides a Secret Vow, which is a pretty good one as well if you have a certain amount of super impositions. But he'll always end up getting healed, he'll always heal himself, so you will lose that second buff you get from this Lightcone. So that's why something like Blaze Lightcone is very high in value, because there's no other destruction Lightcones that are going to give you HP, that are going to give you bonuses on damage when you take hits. Well, kind of Jingli used, but this is more attack based. So something like Jingyuin's Lightcone and something like Blaze Lightcone, there are certain situations why some might be better than others. When you look at Jingyuin's Lightcone, it's just the overall amazing Erudition Lightcone as a whole. Gives you a buff on every single thing on your kit. And then there's special cases like Blade, where you're not able to get many substitutions because there are none, and the ones that are there are tiers below what the signature would be. So the final takeaway I want to give from this video talking about Lightcones is that if you were to ever look at a Harmony, Nihility, Preservation, Abundance character Lightcone, I do think these are very overloaded for the options that we do have that are substitutes. So I would say to stay away from these 4 paths of Lightcones unless you really like the character. Like I said, I am not the one playing with your account. If you really love a character in any of these 4 paths and you just want to play with them forever and you want to boost them up to their max, go ahead, they're your J's, go ahead and spend on whatever you want. But my opinion is that these 4 paths 100% are very bloated and don't really need to be used, because we have so many great 4-star options. But when it comes to the hunt and destruction, I want to solo those out before Erudition. I think that these have characters in them for sure that aren't going to be able to use what they have for substitutions, because a lot of them are very conditional. I know Wolf Walk Time is based on a dot that's placed on an enemy. Secret Vow needs to be lower than an enemy. Under the Blue Sky needs to defeat an enemy. And then the Moles Welcome You is a pretty okay Lightcone because it does give you the attack percent. But other than that, there's just not a really crazy amount of options for these paths, especially for the destruction and hunt, because they all have really conditional stuff. So for DPSs that are in the hunt and destruction, I would say these Lightcones would be a little bit more in value than every other path, just because there's not a lot of great substitutions. I do think once we head into Pandakani and we get that new shop for the MOC and all that type of stuff, I do think we're going to get more Lightcones to fit other characters that have recently been released, because they have been doing wacky stuff with their kits where they're doing some extra stuff and they need other stats to be able to be a DPS or to be in what their role is supposed to be. So I do see us getting some more free-to-play options in the future for sure, but I just think right now Destruction and Hunt probably have the highest in value Lightcones, just due to the fact that they're not really an amazing amount of substitutions. I think the Hunt's actual Herder Shop Lightcone, the same with the destruction one are really great for a lot of different characters. They're just, you can only put it on one, you know, that's the problem. So other than that, Erudition, I think by far before Dawn would be the only Lightcone I would 100% say to get, just because it's the universal one for all Erudition characters forever until this game ends basically. And then Destruction for someone like Blade, who really doesn't have many options. This would be another high in value Lightcone, just because for people that want Blade or people that want to use Blade, this will by far be one of the best options you can give them for a Lightcone that's not a secret Vow. So that's going to be basically it. I do think the Harmony, Nihility, Preservation, and Abundance Lightcones are very overkill. We have a lot of really great 4-star options. While Erudition, Hunt, and Destruction, although they're put into one character and only one character for the Lightcone, I think they give a higher value in what they provide to a certain character that you really want to play. I do want to preface one thing really quickly at the very end of this video, is that when you're looking at Lightcones, I do want you to make sure that you're building out your team correctly before you start going for Lightcones. For example, say you want to go and get Black Swan in the future. I would hope that you're not trying to get Lightcones for other characters if you're actually working towards getting Black Swan, and you're going to go for characters like Kafka. If you're skipping Kafka and you want Black Swan, well, that kind of conflicts with what your plan is, because you really want someone that's going to make Black Swan shine. You want Black Swan to be the MVP of the team, and for that to happen, you need the relevant supports. So someone like Kafka, someone like Ruin May, someone like maybe REHOO, those characters are the ones you want to plan out for and try to get, because those are going to make your strongest teams. You don't really want to go for Lightcones if you don't know your plan already, or you don't know who you're going to summon on. I know there's a lot of new units that do come out, but as a free-to-play player and a low spender, you really want to make sure that you're building out your teams before you start going for Lightcones. You need to know what you're looking for, who is the character that you want to shine the most and you want to stay out the longest when it comes to the lifespan of that unit. For someone like Kafka, say you really like her, but you don't know if you want to get her Lightcone or not, make sure you know who's going to be on your team, whether you go for Black Swan or you're maybe going to use Sampo, Luca, Gwenithan and go for her Lightcone. There's a lot of different possibilities and options and factors that do affect if you want a Lightcone or not. But as I said already, there are some paths, there are some roles that just have very bloated and really not needed Lightcones, while the DPS ones, for the characters that you really like, those would be a really good option and investment to be putting on them, because they'll make them last a lot longer compared to the newer units with more crazier kits in the future. So other than that, that's going to be it when it comes to Lightcones. I just want to share my opinion on what I think about these. I just think that for a lot of the roles that are in the game, they aren't really needed, just because we have so many great 4-star options for all these different paths. And for the DPS options, I would 100% say if you really want them to shine and you really want them because you love them a lot as a character, getting their Lightcone isn't a bad thing, just because right now we just don't have a lot of options for these 4-stars. But I do think we're going to see that in a change in the future, especially with Pentacania releasing. We might get more Lightcones, as we may know that the MOC shop is going to give a second option for a lot of these Lightcones, and we might get something insane that works for different units that we don't have already. So other than that, that's going to be it for the rest of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you're going to be summoning on Lightcones in the future, or if you're just going to stay and go for characters. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.